Hey everybody, and welcome back. I'm KRX, and let's see if we can make a profiting transportation company in Transport Fever 2. Now, the couple times that I've played this game, I have been able to succeed at making a profitable company, but no way am I an expert at these games. So I think this is very much kind of like let a noob teach a noob some noob ideas, right? Like, let's that's basically what it is. Like maybe I can be a stepping stone for some people to get into the game or excited about the game or feel more welcomed into the community or into the game. So this is a game about running a transportation company. That means planes, boats, trains, trucks, all these things, and moving not only goods and freight around, like iron ore to the steel factory and wheat to the bread factory, but also moving people around and connecting cities together. And from this, you can grow the total economy. But it's also like the moment to moment, the actual gameplay of the game. Yeah, thematically, you're moving stuff around, but the gameplay of the game is really about decision making, taking advantage of various opportunities, and spotting basically profiting options like business opportunities, basically, right? So let's go into the free game here. Let's go into the free game here. And we got temperate, dry, tropical. These all can kind of create very different geological areas. The tropical tends to be like island maps. The dry has like canyons and mesas and all kinds of interesting things. Temperate tends to be kind of the standard map. And I think for our first sort of look at making a profiting company, this will be a good start. However, we could try one of the other ones in the future, or you could try whichever ones you want. I don't think any of them are particularly easier or harder. The tropical one might be a little bit trickier because it might involve boats and things like that initially, depending on how disconnected all the things are. Um, but let's start. I have the number of towns set to high, but I think everything else is basically just kind of medium. That'll give us just a few extra towns on the map to kind of find a little bit more opportunity for maybe connecting things together in a slightly easier way to give us a little bit of a jump start maybe. And you can start in any year you want. I think it would be fun to do some runs where we start in later years. I've started in 1850 before. I've started in 1900 before. But yeah, you can basically start in any of the available years, and it does go past 2000. It goes to like it basically the time will run forever, I believe. And new technologies will be unlocked, I think, at least until 2020, maybe even a little bit further in the future than that. So we have the game difficulties here: easy, medium, and hard. Um, let's just stick with medium. But if you wanted to move it to easy for your first time, that's totally fine. The funny thing is, I didn't really notice a difference between easy and medium. My first play was on easy, and then when I played on medium, I did better. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. And then what we can do here, though, and here let's get rid of the custom settings. What we can do is we can pick between the different vehicle options here. We have the European vehicles, we have the United States vehicles, and we have, or this is more than vehicles. This is also like the assets, the general assets, and theming of the towns and stuff like that. I've done Asian, European. We could try just United States. That being said, again, we can pick any of these and it's not going to be any easier or harder. It's just going to be added flavor, more reason to go back and play the game again. So we'll do a temperate United States, just a very sort of generic start here for our first run. I'm noticing that OBS is absolutely freaking out while we're loading the game here. So we'll see. We'll see how that went because I was talking and everything was just game. The game really has a hard time loading in and also exiting out and stuff like that. But usually, actually, in the game, it's not. It actually seems to run pretty decently, considering how many things are going on. This is just a medium map. I'm actually kind of wondering what would we expect from like loading. You can make large and very large maps. I don't even know if you can go beyond that. Usually, I don't think it takes this long, so I'm thinking this is just like first time load type thing. Okay, and we're in. Now let's make sure we pause the game. Make sure we pause the game because we do have 5 million bucks, but it's loaned to us. We don't actually start with any money. So this is completely loaned, and we have to pay that back. And we're going to be paying interest on that loan, which doesn't count as payments to the loan. So this is very different than like a City Skylines, where you take the loan and it just kind of gets paid back, and you only ever really pay $1,000 on loan. If we never pay this loan back, we might end up paying like just millions and millions and millions of dollars in interest, and we'll probably end up paying a few million in interest, to be honest, before we get it all paid back. That's just kind of how it goes. So the loans in this game they're beneficial in the sense that they're large amounts of money that can help you get things going, but at the same time they are actual like real loans, and you know there's a cost to having them rather than just getting free money. So we can actually look around here, right? We can see it happens to be a town right here, Columbia here, and we can look and see that Columbia wants goods and brick or construction materials, has 104 residences, and you can see that for the most part the city is just based on this screen right here. We can see for the most part it's broken down evenly in between sort of residential areas, shopping areas, and workplaces. People have to go to work, they have to go to shopping, and then they go home in between. And it looks like actually traffic is saying is very poor. I don't think this is updated quite yet because there's no way this is actually going to have that traffic. So it probably just hasn't quite done that initial updating there. We'll probably have to run the game for this to get stuck. But you can see basically public transit, it's marking how many destinations do these people have via public transit. 0. Again, it hasn't updated. It looks like it hasn't even updated the private cars. But basically fulfilling their needs for moving to different destinations, for giving them more destinations, these numbers will become positive, which will grow the target population, basically. Right now, the target population is basically 100, and it's being negatively affected by this, but this just hasn't updated yet. This will pop into play. That's not a problem there. Not a problem there. One thing I'm actually going to do is let's move the date speed down to like a 4th. Actually, you know what? No, we could keep it at 1. We can keep it at 1x. We're probably going to play at a lower speed though. So the date speed is one way that we can slow down the progress of time, because over time you get new technologies, and sometimes it's kind of nice to reduce the date speed. Yeah, we'll bring it down to a half. We'll bring it down to a half. It's nice to reduce the date speed so that you can get more time with the current technologies, and things aren't constantly like becoming sort of like out of date. Like as soon as you buy that train, it's like, hey, 2 years, 30 minutes later in game, all of a sudden you're like 20 years ahead of time, and everything you have is like ancient technology. So I kind of like reducing the game speed and letting things kind of go at a slower rate, but it doesn't affect the ability to make a profiting or non-profiting company. Everything is, instead of having yearly reports, you just have 2 times a year, or you have quarterly reports, basically is how that goes. But we can look around, we can see that there's towns here. Here's Denver, we have Fort Collins, whatever, right? We can look around and see all these different towns, okay, on the map. And we can see what they need and how big they are and stuff like that by default. But then there's also all these little factories around here that we never built. We don't own this. We don't own the machines factory. We don't own the logging forest over here. These are areas where we can get these materials to get moved to places that need them. Like over here, here we go. Over here, we have a plank, or a sawmill, produces planks. Here we have wood. We can move this wood over to here to make planks and actually get paid to move this over, right? We'll get paid for the transport. But unless these planks get used somewhere, unless they're needed somewhere, eventually the sawmill doesn't want any more wood, and the money that we invest in building a transportation system between here and here is not going to work. So we have to be using everything that we're sending, or not we, but like everything that we're moving needs to eventually ultimately get consumed. And the way things get consumed is the town, right? So you need to complete the loop. So for in this case, it's wood to planks, and then we can take these planks, and I'm just noticing that this machine factory needs planks, but it's a little bit more complicated than that because it also needs steel. So we have to think, okay, well, where's the steel, and how much, here's steel actually, which requires, the iron and the coal. And so technically, right, we could be making planks here by shipping wood, getting paid for that, ship the planks down to the machine factory, get paid for that, and then move the machines into a town like Denver that actually needs the machines and get paid for that. But also we'd have to be doing the iron and the coal into the steel mill and then moving the steel down into the machine factory as well. We'd have to be respecting ratios and stuff like that because, for example, the steel mill needs 2 iron and 2 coal for 1 steel. The sawmill needs 2 wood for 1 plank. We'd have to all be shipping that back to Denver. And in this case, Denver only wants 44 supply, although that would be expected to go up as the city grows. And the city would be growing if we gave it the machine parts that it needs. Admittedly, machine parts are one of the more plastic goods and machine parts. Like here we can see this requires steel and plastics. And plastics require refined oil, which requires crude oil. So this is something that is also a large chain, getting the goods up, getting the machine parts up. These are some of the more complicated systems in the game. More simple systems would be like brick, which is just stone to brick, and then we could send the brick to there. So we could actually look and see if there was stone nearby, because that would be actually a decent option, but I'm not, here's stone. So what we could do is we could actually truck or train or whatever, fly or boat, right? Boat wouldn't make sense in this situation, but we can move the stone from the Denver quarry over to the Denver construction materials plant, the brick plant, and then move that to Garland. And we could actually be getting paid to do that. Oh, alternatively, here's this. We have wood to here for planks, planks into here for tools, and then tools into Garland. Actually, getting Garland up and going would be super easy. And actually, Garland's a large city. By default, it's a large city that has a lot of demand for bricks and tools. So this could be totally a good economic opportunity right here because I'm seeing multiple chains that we could just easily be setting up. The only thing kind of annoying about this is that this is kind of like we have to kind of move the planks past Garland to get it to the tool factory and then move the tools back in. So it's kind of a weird, like, you know what I mean? We have to kind of like, but the good thing is you get paid based on the distance you travel and the speed that you deliver it. So even though this is a far distance, it doesn't mean it's not an opportunity to make some good money. Here's a situation too, right? Fort Collins wants bread, and there's wheat fields around Fort Collins, and then there's a food processing plant here to make bread. So this is basically part of the game. Like, I know we haven't even unpaused yet. We haven't built anything. We haven't done anything. That's because this is actually the game. The game is actually spotting these different economic opportunities, seeing how the things fell, seeing where the industries are, understanding here's goods to goods. But the problem is we were just talking about how goods are such a, well, there's steel to goods, which is good, but then we'd have to think about the resources for the steel is way over here. And how would we make the plastic, right? Where's the plastic coming from? I'm not seeing a plastic area anywhere near, way over here. So this is nothing in terms of proximity. Eventually that would be good money. Like getting that all set up would be really good money. But for right now, that's not exactly a good, like cheap internal investment. Fuel, we have a fuel situation here where we have crude oil into refined oil into fuel, and then fuel can be delivered into Toledo. In fact, fuel could also be delivered into Buffalo. That's definitely looking pretty enticing because it's 2 cities right sort of sandwiching the fuel refinery, which the only thing that I'm worried about here is whether we'd have enough crude oil, and I think for now we would. And then we have the other one over here that's really not that much farther away. So we could totally get this going, and then we could be moving these into Buffalo, into Toledo, respectively. The other thing that's interesting too about fuel and oil and crude oil is that these all use essentially the same kind of containers. So we can actually piggyback. There's a situation where we might be able to use one train to deliver raw oil or crude oil, deliver the refined oil, and then come back and kind of do a triangular thing, or even like potentially go through, deliver, and then kind of have like a single train line that's kind of like hitting all of these different notes, which is kind of interesting. So that's kind of cool. So we just got to pick something, right? We just got to pick something and go for it. It seems like we have a good opportunity to get bread to Fort Collins. I don't know, that bread's pretty much in the corner of the map. I mean, we would need bread in Palm Bay, and we'd also need it in Armalillo. So we have options here. But I also really like just how simple some of these setups were. I mean, the funny thing is, yeah, that stone's a little bit further away, but just simply trucking, you know, just doing this, as simple as it is, this would make us some money. Now, the problem is, you know, horse and carriage, you know, 1850, right? Horse and carriage isn't exactly the fastest means of getting things done. This is definitely a little bit more proximal, but it probably would be a little bit, we probably would need to get a train to do that, whereas, well, we probably want a train to do this too. I don't know, what's the distances there? None of this is perfect, right? Nothing's ever perfect, but let's at least get this going. Let's get this trucking over to here, and then let's get this probably initially trucking, but then we could replace it with train eventually, or heck, I don't know, maybe we just go in with a train. Maybe we just straight up go in with a train, and then we'll truck in the actual tools in town, or something like that. Okay, so let's think about how we'd actually do this. So, and the funny thing is, we could actually go to the highway roads, and we could actually make our own sort of road connection here to try to optimize this pathing a little bit. That's going to cost us 76,000. Well, we got 5 million. That's fine. That's what we just did there is actually completely unnecessary. But I wanted to be able to like kind of improve this a little bit. And let's build truck depots at these two areas, because we just talked about how we're going to be moving right, we're going to be moving logs over to here. And then we'll need a road depot. The road depot is where the actual trucks come from. These depots are where the goods will get sent. So the as long as this, see how this highlighted here? See how that's like highlighting? That means that we're within range of the lumber camp. The other thing that's actually really, really good to get going initially is public transit options. So the larger towns, like especially the 200 pop towns, that's plenty large. We could easily be getting a bus line in there, easily, and which would be just a horse-drawn carriage. But moving people around the cities is actually something that they do want and expect. So that's something we could be looking at too. That's 150 pop there. Santa Rosa, that's pretty good. I think anything like over 150 pop would probably make a pretty. There's 200 for Milwaukee. Yeah, so I think honestly Santa Rosa, maybe even Denver, because the funny thing is, if we connected up Denver, we could actually connect. Denver's already connected, so they should be getting a growth bonus when it calculates the connections that they have to Garland. We could set up a bus from Denver to Garland. We could do that and maybe make money off that. We could set up a train between the two if we wanted to too. So there's a few different cities that I think will definitely want to get bus lines down. I hate to say it, guys. Well, there's a little bit of like a camera bug where if you're doing something or something, you kind of find yourself that like it tries to take you off the map, and once it takes you off the map, then it's over. But sorry about that, guys. So that we got stuck there. A little bit of a thing that happens sometimes playing this game. This will definitely make us money initially, but the thing that I just like, getting the bus lines up is a lot simpler and cheaper. A lot simpler, a lot cheaper. The public transit lines. And essentially, the funny thing is we're probably not going to pause here, guys. Not going to lie. Probably not going to unpause in this particular episode. Because just like playing, it kind of reminds me a little bit of when you're playing like EU4 or Hearts of Iron or Crusader Kings or something like that, right? You spend a good amount of time just evaluating your ecosystem. And that's essentially where you're going to be able to find the opportunities and kind of know how to get these things set up in the first place, right? I think we noticed that Milwaukee was pretty big. Kind of annoying that this doesn't connect. We could finish that connection right there. We could totally just finish that connection. Interesting that a bridge already. I don't think I've seen the game just like spawn bridges like that. So I'm getting depots down here so that we can feed the bus lines that we're going to be able to create. And you can totally come in here, and I'm just switching between the city. It doesn't matter. These are the highway roads. These are the city roads. I'm not really sure if there's much of an actual difference there. Looks like it's actually wanting these roads. Okay, that's fine. We'll just continue that through because that might help us make better sort of bus loops and stuff. Then we can go here and we can go in and think about, where does the bus actually physically stop? See, this is where it's a little goofy, but one there, maybe one here or something. I don't know. I'm spitballing here, guys. If you're there we go. We have a right, and then we can create a line. And this is our Milwaukee bus. Mill bus. And go over to the vehicle. Now that we've built a vehicle depot, we can go into here to buy our vehicles. We can look and see by road vehicles. We can see passenger vehicles, and we can see cargo vehicles. Right now we only have one kind of vehicle. It holds 4 people. It goes 18 km per hour. And we just have to think about, okay, how many do we want here? Each one of these is going to cost us $4,000 per year. It's not cheap. We can easily expand this later. This is a big city. I think we could probably go to 4. That's 100,000, and then we'll send them on. And then when we unpause these, we'll come out of the depot, and then they'll start sort of distributing them through this line. And hopefully, 4 is a little bit tricky, but they have a low capacity. So fingers crossed that we'll be able to make a little bit of a profit off of that. But I find that usually these little bus routes are kind of a good way to make kind of an initial profit. So this looks like this is going to be good. So we can go to there, and then we can kind of go to there, and then we can kind of go to here. This is for Santa Rosa. So we can name this like Santa Bus. Buy more vehicles. Slightly smaller city, isn't it? And this, like, let's go 3 for now. Again, if you know, it's probably better to leave money on the table than to lose money on these lines. The Santa Bus. Okay, good. I think we are going to try to sneak Denver, although I'm noticing that there is kind of a road issue here, so we might want to expand some of these roads a little bit just to kind of get something a little bit more sensible here. Now, destroying homes is incredibly expensive because you literally have to, the game is literally making you pay for the property rights, essentially, right? So destroying homes is not really like a viable thing, really. This will probably be a lot better when it grows. It'll, like, heck, I don't know, maybe we've gone 4 buses, and we've gone 3 buses, and this is Denver, right? I think we could actually do as low as maybe 2 buses here. What do you call this, a bus? But hey, you know, 1850, maybe. The word bus, you know, is it maybe the bus had to have been potentially used for this kind of transportation, potentially, even before actual motorized buses. I don't know. Maybe that word came around. I don't know. I don't know the history of this stuff. Sorry, guys, being a bit of a doofus here. Okay, I'm just trying to kind of. And the funny thing is we're actually wasting a lot of money building these roads, which you totally don't have to waste. So there you go, you know. And we're still hopefully going to have a profiting company, but we're still wasting some money here making some of these connections and stuff. This one we could probably do. I'm kind of expecting this particular city to grow relatively rapidly. So I do want to have these kind of more on the edges. but maybe we'll just do the 3 stops. That gets everybody. There's even some overlap between them, so it's kind of weird because it's like, well, why don't people just walk? I mean, some people just want to use the public transit. It's goofy, but was this Garland or something like that? Call it Garbus. Was I right or wrong about that? Yeah, Garland. There we go. I couldn't remember. So we could probably go up to 3 here. Thing is, adding these connections is instantly going to help the city grow, though, and we'll see how that works. So basically, what I'm doing here is I'm selecting all the vehicles we just purchased that are inside this depot, and I'm telling them to go to Garbus, and then they'll go to Garbus when we unpause. Technically, we could probably unpause right now and make a decent amount of money, but let's set up this cargo line. Let us set up this cargo line, and this will be wood truck 1. Wood truck 1. So this will be just reminding us this was the first wood truck line that we have put together. And then we can go into here. We can go to cargo this time. These can hold all kinds of cargo, only 4 capacity. And we can see they're quite slow. So the reality of the fact is we're probably going to need like 20 of these things on this line, which is going to be a huge amount of cost. And honestly, the truth is I don't even know if that's even going to be enough of these vehicles, but we're going to have just a string of constantly trying to deliver wood to here, where we're going to take 2 of those. I mean, that's the thing too, is we got to take, each one of these is only going to make one, each delivery is only going to equate to 1 plank. And then 1 plank will become 1 tool, and then 1 tool will become, I mean, we could sell 70 tools here. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's actually crazy. In fact, to get those 70 tools delivered and such, right, we're definitely going to need to set up a train. So here what we do is we do the truck station. Again, that's going to collect the tools when they're made. It's going to automatically move over there because those are linked. And then we're going to have to come in here and figure out, okay, where is the actual truck stop going to be to deliver the tools? And again, we're looking, this is like a bus stop, but for freight trucks. That's kind of a main drag, so it's probably not ideal to have it here. Also, I'm thinking about the buses, how the buses are going to be going around. Be interesting to see. I don't know. So we'll need to actually get a trucking line to actually go into there, but that'll be, and we could set that up now, right? We could set this up now because it's kind of built, but we don't have to buy any vehicles for it yet because it's gonna run us dry if we get this going too early before we actually have tools being made. But we could call this this is GAR local tools. So it's like the local delivery, the end stop, the end point, the local delivery of tools. Because we'll need to get an actual plank, and then we'll set up a train. But guys, let's take a pause in this episode. Thank you so much, everybody, because honestly, next time we will run the game. Next time we'll get the train up, and we'll hit play, and booyah. I think we'll be able to actually make a little bit of a profit here. So thank you so much, everybody, for sort of hanging out while we're sort of setting up the infrastructure for making a successful company in Transport Fever 2. And hopefully in episode 2, we'll actually notice, or we'll actually sort of realize that dream of making a successful company. So thank you so much, everybody. I will see you guys in the next one.